Hello beautiful people, I am Uncle Fidget. Completing Pokemon Emerald with only a Crawdaunt using nothing but HM moves was pretty difficult, but it's time to ramp these challenges up to 11 as we venture into the Sinno region. As always, let's go over the HMs in this generation. Sinno has a total of 8 HMs, 6 of which are required to complete the game, and for the only time ever in a Pokemon game, 5 HMs are needed to get through Victory Road. This means for the first time I won't be able to complete this challenge as a solo run, even though the Pokemon I chose can actually learn all the necessary HMs. So to deal with this, I just decided to run with 2 of them. The Pokemon in question is the one who embodies the term HM Slave. That's right, we'll be running this challenge with 2 Bibarels. Bibarel is the evolved form of this generation's Route 1 rodent Pokemon, so its stats are really nothing to write home about. Though we will at least get Stab from all of our moves except Rock Smash, as Bibarel is normal and water type. Though this also makes us weak to 3 of the 8 gyms, so that will be interesting. Just like my previous runs, I'll only be allowed to use my Bibarels, and will have to load them up with every HM I require along the way. To make it more difficult, once I learn the HMs, I will only be allowed to use those moves. I can't use items in battle, but held items and items outside of battle are fine. Before we get going, don't forget to leave a comment predicting how high of a level I'll have to beat Cynthia. I choose the male character and name myself Fidget, as usual, and name our rival Lewis, after the first person to ever comment on one of my videos. Cheers buddy, it's really appreciated. I used the universal randomizer to replace Piplup with Bidoof. That way we can do our entire run with them, and it also means that our rival's starter will be super effective against us to make this challenge even harder. The footage of my first battle somehow disappeared, so you'll just have to imagine the epic struggle that unfolded. And as you might be able to tell from our stats, we actually lost. It doesn't impede our progress in the game, but it does leave me with a thirst for revenge. Before we can do anything else, I have to take Lewis by the hand to look at the local lake, and we see a strange man with blue hair. I wonder if he'll be important. I name our Bidoof Risky, after the second person to ever comment on my videos. Seeing a pattern yet? We then bolster our team with another Bidoof, who we nicknamed Bert, leave a comment if you can guess why, before gaining a few levels and going to eviscerate Lewis. His Starly outspeeds us and goes for Growl, cutting the attack of our tackle. It keeps going for Growl, so I switch to Bert, not fully understanding how his unaware ability works. It only ignores the opponent's stat changes and not his own, so our attack is still getting cut by Growl. Lucky for us though, Starly just keeps using Growl, so we eventually take it down. Our attack is lowered so much by this point that we're doing incredibly little, but between a lucky crit and Turtwig wasting time using Withdraw, which actually won't do anything thanks to Unaware, we finally win the battle. You beat me once, Lewis, but it will never happen again. After that, we pick up our first HM in the Oreburg Gate, Rock Smash, which is a huge relief as Cut is usually the first HM we get, and as I learnt in my Emerald playthrough, using Cut against a Rock type gym kinda sucks. We teach Rock Smash to both of our Bidoofs and attempt to take on Rourke. Unfortunately, we just don't have enough attack power or defense to even get through his Onix. So I go away and level up both Risky and Bert until they hit level 15 and evolve into Bibarel. However, we have to deny them the chance to learn Water Gun. Unfortunately, they won't be getting a water type move until Surf. Now that she's evolved, Risky manages to deal with Rourke single-handedly. Geodude takes 2 hits and only sets up a Stealth Rock. Onix takes about half health from a Rock Smash, and his Rock Throw now does very little to us in return. One more Rock Smash isn't enough to put him down though, so naturally Rourke heals him up, making us take another 2 turns to finish him off. Last out is Cranidos, but its weak defenses mean it can't stand up to 2 hits from Risky, so with that, we can gain the Coal Badge. Over at the Valley Windworks, we have our first run-in with the Team Galactic Commander, and if you told me at the start of this run that one of the hardest fights I'd have would be against the Zubat, I'd have said you were an idiot. But it's 4 times resistant to Rock Smash, and knows Toxic, so it completely walls us. My only option is to grind up a few levels, and to throw a Petra Berry on Bert so that he can at least cure himself from poison once. Also, using Bert first ensured that when he went down, any defense drops he managed to cause on the opponent would be useful to Risky, as she has Simple instead of Unaware. We eventually take out Zubat with just under half of our health remaining, but not before it lands another Toxic. Purugly comes in and uses Fake Out, making us miss our first turn, and because it's faster than us, it gets off a scratch. But Bert hangs on with 1 HP to hit a super effective Rock Smash, doing a huge chunk of damage before going down. Risky then comes in to bring home the victory with a few more hits. We make our way to Eterna City, and I run into Lewis, who wants to check out what might be the greatest sprite in any Pokemon game ever. Depending on how you look at this statue, it can either be Dialga or Palkia, which I think is a super cool bit of design because it meant they could use the same sprite to represent the box legendary in both Diamond and Pearl. Oh, also that weird guy with blue hair is there, spouting nonsense to himself. We also run into Cynthia, who sees great potential in me and my 2 Bibarels, so it gives me the HM for Cut, which I again teach to both of my guys. I then try to take on Gardenia, but at this level, my Pokemon just get wrecked. And Magical Leaf never misses, so no amount of luck will carry me through this one. So once more, I go off the grind and come back just shy of level 30. Risky is out first, and 2 cuts take down Turtwig as it sets up the sun, allowing Cherrim to switch forms. Our cut doesn't quite do half, but she just sets up a useless safeguard as another leaves her with a little health. We get nailed by a grass knot before Gardenia heals up, so it takes us 3 more hits to take out Cherrim, and we get taken down to 29 HP. We switch to Bert for Roserade, who outspeeds us and goes for a Stun Spore, paralyzing us. Cut does around half damage, but she heals with a Citrus Berry, and Grass Knot does a massive chunk of damage to us. Fortunately, Bert lands a critical hit to end the fight and get us the Forest Badge. After that, we have to deal with Team Galactic again, and this time face off against Commander Jupiter. This time though, Zubat goes down in 1 hit, just like it should. Skuntank, like its name implies, is a little tankier and uses Smokescreen to lower our accuracy. I try using Rock Smash to lower its defense to give Risky the best chance of taking it out should Bert go down, which happens fairly quickly thanks to a combination of Poison and Night Slash, and we didn't get a single stat drop for our effort. Despite that, Risky finishes off Skuntank in 2 cuts, and we can leave the warehouse. Down the road, Cynthia approaches us again, this time to give us an egg. I'm not allowed to refuse, so I take it, before immediately dumping it in a PC to rot for all eternity. Should have accepted no for an answer, Cynthia. On our way through Mount Coronet, we once again encounter the blue-haired man who is babbling on about a new world. Must be some kind of revolutionary. Then we reach Hearthome City, and for any of you that have played this game before, no doubt this is the part you've been waiting for. You see, the 3rd gym is full of ghost types, and we still only have access to Rock Smash and Cut, which have no effect on ghosts. And now in my previous runs, this was a simple fix. I just used Struggle. But in Gen 4, they changed how Struggle works, so that now the recoil damage does 1/4 of your own health every time you use it. This is the other reason I'm using 2 Pokemon for this run, because with only 1 Bibarel using Struggle, I would have to take out her 3 Pokemon in 1 hit each in order to not faint myself, which would require me to be over level 60 before the 3rd gym. And considering the wild Pokemon in this area aren't even level 20, and I did the challenge without using Speed Up, I simply don't hate myself enough to make that happen. Instead, I get Risky and Bert to level 38, which is enough for a guaranteed 2-hit KO on both Duskull and Haunter, and a 3-hit KO on Miss Magus. That gives us a little wiggle room to take damage from incoming attacks, but not a whole bunch, especially as Miss Magus has a super effective Magical Leaf which will never miss. The worst part though was trying to get rid of 120 PP on 2 Pokemon without either of them fainting because revives are super scarce at the moment, and then to make my life worse, I tried to go and get some levels from the trainers inside the gym, and on the first one we ran into, this stupid Mischievous used Confuse Ray, which meant that even though we beat it, we took ourselves out, so I had to go heal and waste all of my moves again. It was somewhat frustrating. Eventually, I make it to Fantina, with no PP left. Bert starts struggling against Dusclops. She goes for Will-O-Wisp, but misses, so we face Miss Magus with half our health left. Not that it matters, 1 Magical Leaf will still take us out, but we get a struggle in for good measure. After he falls, Risky comes out, and lands an incredible crit, putting Miss Magus down in a single hit. We move on to Haunter, who misses her hypnosis, and we're able to claim the Relic Badge. Hopefully we won't have to deal with any more ghost types before we get Surf now. With that done, we make our way to Salacion Town, but not before Lewis demands another battle. His Starly has evolved and now has Intimidate, so I swap Bert out for Risky as he sets up a double team. We miss a couple of attacks and Staravia keeps going for double team, but we eventually hit a cut, leaving him with a little bit of health. I think switching to Bert is a great idea as Unaware will ignore the increased evasion, but Staravia uses Endeavor and Quick Attack to put Bert down before he even has a chance to attack. So Risky is back in and lands her cut, finishing off Staravia. Groddle takes less than half damage from a cut and goes for Withdrawal, so we do even less to him next time. He switches to Razor Leaf, taking a large chunk of our health, and our next cut leaves him with like 1 HP, allowing him to get another hit in before going down. His Weavile gets off an Aqua Jet before we take it out, and Ponyta missed a tackle of all things, so we take the win with 2 more cuts. This game was not going to let me off that easy though, because just before we reach Veilstone City, we have to fight Ace Trainer Dennis, who has a Driftloon. And you know what that means. Seemingly endless time spent wasting PP just so I can use Struggle to defeat this stupid random trainer. I'm so done with ghost types. Maylene should really have been much harder than she was, but because of how much grinding we had to do for Fantina, we are pretty over-leveled for this part of the game. We do around 3/4 to Meditite with 1 cut, but it uses Rock Tomb to slow us down, which allows her to get in a strong Drain Punch before we can finish it off. I switch to Burt from Choke, and Cut does about half his health, and we only take 1/4 of ours from Karate Chop. After it faints, we move on to Lucario, who falls to 1 super effective critical Rock Smash. Hey, a win's a win no matter how cheesy. After fighting a few Galactic grunts with Dawn, we find another HM in the back room. Unfortunately, it's Fly, one of the very few Bibarel can't learn. So we move on, and as if to toy with me, the first trainer I run into on the next route has a Driftloon. I swear this game was specifically designed to make this run as annoying as possible. I make it to Pastoria City, but before I'm allowed to take on the gym, Lewis shows up for another challenge. Staravia's Intimidate cuts Burt's attack, so once again we switch to Risky. This time though, despite his double teams, we're able to land 2 cuts to put him down. Groddle has apparently got a lot bulkier since we last fought him, so Cut does very little, and of course his Razor Leaf really hurts. So I swap to Rock Smash to try and lower his defense and get the drop, allowing our next cut to get him down to a sliver of health as he takes us out with a Mega Drain for some reason. Really not healing much, which allows Burt to easily finish him off. Ponyta just uses Growl, so goes down in 2 hits, and Weavile doesn't even use a priority move, so a critical hit wins us the fight. Crasher Wake was not easy. He starts with Gyarados, who has Intimidate, so we send out Risky to take the effect of his ability before swapping to Burt. We take a Waterfall, but it's resisted, so it doesn't do much. We trade a few blows before we're able to move on to Floatzel, still in green health. He outspeeds us though, and Crunch is really powerful. We manage to take out half his health in 1 cut, but a Citrus Berry heals him out of range of another taking him down. We take another Crunch and get in 1 more cut before Burt faints. Risky comes in to finish off Floatzel, but not before taking a Crunch that lowers her defense. I then use Rock Smash to lower Quagsire's defense as he goes for Rock Tomb to try and lower our speed. But it's not enough to make us slower than him. He uses Yawn a little too late, and 2 more cuts win us the Fen badge. Then all hell breaks loose, as a Team Galactic grunt sets off a massive explosion and we have to go chase him down. After wiping the floor with him, Cynthia gives us a potion that can cure a Psyduck's headache, which we give to the ones blocking the path. Then Cynthia shows up again to give us an old charm which she wants us to deliver to her grandmother. Yeah, Cynthia, stalking children and giving them random gifts is all sorts of creepy. Nevertheless, we reach Celestia Town and go to the old ruins and meet with Cynthia's grandmother, when the blue-haired stranger decides to show up and introduces himself as Cyrus. Because we don't share his disdain for parietal art, he challenges us to a battle. He starts with a Sneasel, which gets struck down in 1 Rock Smash. Next is Golbat, who takes just under half from a cut, but misses his Supersonic. He manages to hang on from another cut, and we take an Air Cutter in return before Cyrus heals him. 2 more hits take him into red health, and we take 1 more Air Cutter before finishing him off. Murkrow takes over half its health and damage from our attack, but heals itself with a berry before retaliating with Drill Peck. We cut again, leaving him with a tiny amount of health, and hang on from a Drill Peck, allowing Burt to end the fight with 1 more attack. Then, finally, we get Surf as a reward. No longer will I cower in fear from ghosts. No longer will the sight of one send me into a state of hysteria. I teach it to both my Pokemon, and then just outside the cave we run into Cynthia. Seriously, love, leave me alone. You're too old for me. Also, if you're coming this way, why didn't you just give the charm to your granny yourself? We reach Canalave City, and wouldn't you have guessed, Lewis wants another battle. His Staravia has evolved into Staraptor now, but seeing as we have Surf, his Intimidate isn't the problem it used to be. 1 hit takes him to a tiny amount of health, and his double team doesn't save him from our next attack taking him out. We swap to Risky as he sends out Heracross, and 2 Surfs are able to put him down as we only take a Night Slash. His newly evolved Torterra takes neutral damage from Surf, so 2 are enough to make him faint, and Rapidash obviously only takes 1. We switch to Cut for Floatzel, and Burt is able to end the battle in 2 more hits. We then move on to Byron, and he gets bowled over. His first Pokemon, Magneton, is the most threatening. One Surf takes it into red health, but it retaliates with a Thunderbolt. It leaves us with just 6 HP. Byron then Hyper Potions, but as we outspeed, he's just delaying the inevitable. Surf is super effective against Steelix, so it goes down in one hit, and although it's also super effective against Bastiodon, he hangs on to take out Risky. Lucky for us though, we also taught Surf to Burt, so one more hit gives us the victory. After that, we head over to the Iron Islands and run into a man in a fancy dress costume, who offers us the HM for strength in return for our aid. In hindsight, he might have wanted to wait until after we helped him to reward us. Now that I have strength, I can get rid of Cut on Risky with a trip to our old friend the Move Deleter, and teach her strength instead, so that she still has a stab physical move. Despite this being the game that introduced Looker and the International Police, somehow it's still down to me to deal with the nefarious deeds of Team Galactic. So I head off to Lake Valor to go up against Commander Saturn, who's hanging around despite having already captured the Lake Guardian. Regardless, we fight him, and after a crit takes Golbat down in one hit, and Toxicroak falls in 2 strengths, he sends out Bronzor. You might notice that Burt no longer has Surf on his moveset. Well, that's because I figured that seeing as the Move Deleter was on the other side of the region to the rest of the adventure, I may as well free up a slot for Waterfall now so that it didn't have to go back later. So I had to switch to Risky to use Surf in order to finish off Bronzor. Saturn then tells us that Mars is over at Lake Verity, so we rush over there to find Dawn failing to hold her own. The fact that Mars's Pokemon are all at full health, I can only imagine she got swept. Burt deals with Golbat in 2 shots, as she misses her Supersonic, and then for Bronzor, I have to switch again. He goes for an Iron Defense, but that won't affect Surf's damage, so that handily takes it out in 2 hits. I swap back to Burt for Perugly, and after it uses Fake Out, she then lands a Hypnosis, and starts wailing on us until Burt manages to wake up. He moves first with his Quick Claw, and lands a strong Rock Smash. Unfortunately, he goes down shortly after, leaving Risky to clean up, which she does so easily. Our next battle with the Galactic Commanders is at Lake Acuity, but that requires us to grab the HM for Rock Climb and to beat another gym before we can use it. Not to worry though, Lewis should have it under control. Right? I'm sure he'll be fine. So I teach Rock Climb to Burt and go to fight the gym. I don't think there is a more annoying fight in this game than the one against Candace. Not difficult, just annoying. A combination of Hail being set up by Abomasnow, which allows Frostlass's Snow Cloak ability to increase her evasiveness, and then her using Double Team over and over, makes winning this fight purely a test of luck. In this attempt, we get a Quick Claw activation against Sneasel, so Bart outspeeds it, and messes her up with a single Rock Smash. I use Rock Smash against Abomasnow to try and lower her defense, but to no avail. Then we get slammed by a Wood Hammer that does huge damage to us, but the recoil puts her in range of a strength, so next turn we take her out. I have to swap to Risky for Frostlass, as Bart doesn't have a move that can hit her, and as I expected, she starts setting up a Double Team, and we miss our first few attacks. Miraculously though, when Risky does land a Surf, it's a critical hit, so we don't have to worry about trying to land another one. Piloswine is weak to water, so one more Surf wins us the Icicle badge. Right, let's go catch up with Lewis and see how he handled Team Galactic. Oh, he lost. You really are a liability. Fine, I'll just do everything myself. But not before making a trip I really didn't want to do over to the Move Deleter again, because I realized that I taught Rock Climb to Burt and that left him without access to a water move, which with all the issues I've had with ghost types in this run, I could not be dealing with. I infiltrate Team Galactic's headquarters just in time to see them receive a speech from their leader, who is Cyrus? Who saw that coming? I thought he was just a revolutionary art hater. Now I find out he's essentially the head of a cult? Well, I never. I find the Lake Guardians being held captive by Commander Saturn, so we're forced to deal with him in order to set them free. Burt ignores his Golbat's Confuse Ray and puts it down in 2 strengths. I swap to Risky to face Toxicroak, and Rock Climb manages to confuse them, and although she heals with a berry, she hits herself to take that health back down, putting them in range of a strength. Then it's on to Bronzor, who again tries to confuse us, but has no luck, so 2 Surfs finish off the commander. With his Pokemon defeated, he steps aside and allows us to free the Lake Guardians, but of course, our job is not yet complete. We scale to the highest point of Sky Pillar, and Lewis joins us in a double battle against Mars and Jupiter. Though he may have wished he hadn't, as I'll end up doing more damage to his Pokemon than our opponents. As always with double battle, my plan is to spam Surf until I win. The ladies start off both throwing out Bronzor, and Lewis has added a Munchlax to his team. Surf does just under half to everyone on the field. Our opponents set up screens, and Munchlax goes for Screech on the left Bronzor. Not that it helped, as our next Surf crits that one, and it drops. We take an extra Sensory from the one remaining, and Munchlax goes for Body Slam, which does no damage, but does paralyze it. Again though, it doesn't end up mattering, as it goes down next turn to 1 Surf, as 2 does Munchlax. We then take a Poison Jab from Skuntank, and Purugly and Floatzel hit the field. Floatzel soaks up a Slash from Purugly, and Surf does about a third of everyone's health. Then Lewis is actually useful for once. Floatzel uses Brick Break, which smashes through Light Screen and Reflect, so that our next Surf nails Purugly, taking it out and leaving Skuntank with a little bit of health, so that Staraptor can finish it off. Last, we have to deal with 2 Golbats. Our Surf does just under and just over half health to them, but finishes off Staraptor, so Risky is left to take the brunt of the attacks. She hangs on though, and Lewis sends in Rapidash. Deciding that Surf would one-shot it, and that he'd probably be more useful alive than dead at this point, I go for a Strength, taking out the weaker of the 2 Golbats. Rapidash takes the Confuse Ray, allowing us to use 1 more Strength to finish the battle. Cyrus then, as all cult leaders eventually do, confuses himself for a god, and rips holes in the universe to call forth the embodiments of time and space themselves. But he forgot, thou shalt not worship false idols. And thus, the Pokemon Devil himself rises from the underworld to drag him to the Distortion Realm. Cynthia shows up and decides that a hellish portal to the Plane of Nightmares sounds like a great place for a date, so drags us in with her. Now I have to fight Cyrus. And I'ma just tell you right now, I lost the fight the first time. Do you know what happens when you lose this fight? You go back to the last Pokemon Center you were at. And I hadn't saved. So I had to climb Mount Coronet and traverse the Distortion World again just to take another crack at this Nar. And I lost again. And again. In fact, I started wondering if I could even beat him at this level. And if I wouldn't have to accept defeat just to get out of the Distortion World so that I could go grind. But eventually, this happened. He starts with Houndoom, which is no issue for Risky, who deals with it in a single Surf. I then stay out to soak up Gyarados' Intimidate before switching to Burt. But I take a critical Earthquake for it, which takes a good chunk of our health. But I had Burt hold a Citrus Berry, so we get some of that back. Our first Strength doesn't quite do half damage, but our second one crits, so takes Gyarados out. Honchkrow will take 2 strengths, and we just managed to hold on from a Drill Peck with 4 HP, so Burt gets the win, before falling to Crobat. I gave Risky the Quick Claw to stand a chance of outspeeding Crobat, and it pays off as we go first, and land a Rock Climb, but then he retaliates with Toxic, putting us on the clock. 1 more Rock Climb finishes Crobat, and it's on to Weavile. Rock Smash is 4 times super effective, but it's whether we actually get 2 off before fainting. We take 1 Night Slash, and after Toxic, go down to just 64 HP. Weavile goes for Night Slash again, but we hang on with a single hit point and finish this fight with a final Rock Smash. All that's left to do in the Distortion World is face Giratina. I tried fighting it, but after Risky fell, I just fled, as Burt had no way of hitting it. So, now that Team Galactic are defeated, and I have actually saved the universe, I can go and get the last gym badge. And oh boy! As if this run wasn't torture enough already, we have an electric gym to deal with. Jolteon is out first, and without a lucky Quick Claw activation, he will always outspeed us, so we take 2 Charge Beams before putting him down, leaving us with very little health remaining. Risky hits another Rock Climb against Raichu, OHKOing it, and miraculously doesn't get paralyzed by static, so she's able to get 1 final Rock Climb off against Luxray before fainting. That allows Burt to come in and knock out Luxray with 1 more hit, leaving only Volkner's ace, Electivire. Strength does massive damage, and even his berry won't save him from another hit, so all Burt needs to do is hold on from a Thunder Punch to claim victory. He does just that. So, 1 last stop before heading off to the Elite Four then. We find the Johto gym leader Jasmine at the north end of the city, and she gives us the HM for Waterfall. I guess she's just got a thing for cities with lighthouses. Of course though, we can't possibly face the Elite Four before putting Lewis in his place 1 final time. First out, Staravia, and Risky wrecks him with a Surf. Next is Heracross, who is a huge threat due to close combat, so I switch to Burt, who has more physical attack. Strength isn't enough to take him out, so we take a close combat for 3/4 of our health, before finishing Heracross off. We then swap back to Risky to handle Torterra, as his physical bulk is too much for Burt, and she holds on from a super effective Leaf Storm to get in 2 Surfs and move on to Floatzel, We swap back to Bert, and Floatzel just goes down in 1 strength. Now we've got to try and get through Big Boy Snorlax. It will take 2 strengths, and we have very little health left. Luckily though, we hang on from a Body Slam with just 5 HP, so 1 more strength all but wins us this match, as his final Pokemon is Rapidash, so switching to Risky and using Surf guarantees us victory. Boom! Elite Four. Let's go! And if it isn't the easiest Elite Four I've ever dealt with in one of these challenges. First up is Aaron, a Bug-type user. Seriously mate, you're gonna bring the weakest type in the entire game to what is supposed to be one of my final boss battles? Yanmega is first and takes a strength before U-turning out to Heracross. He too takes a strength before his close combat is too much for Risky to handle, so it's left to Bert to deal with the rest of his team. He puts Heracross down with another strength, and then lands a crit on Vespiquen, so she faints in a single hit. Yanmega comes back out, but can't handle another strength. Then with Scizor, I swap to Waterfall and land another lucky crit. Last is Drapion, who outspeeds us. But after trading a few blows back and forth, we manage to take the win, with just 31 health left. Against Bertha, once we get through Whiscash, who takes 2 strengths before going down and gets in an Earth Power, the rest of her team get OHKO'd by Surf. Against Flint, Risky handles Houndoom with 1 Surf, but Infernape outspeeds her and hits with a strong Thunder Punch. Although Risky hangs on, she does get paralyzed. Luckily though, she breaks through to land a Surf to take him out. I switch to Bert so the rest of his team don't outspeed us, and Flint's Rapidash and Magmortar both fall to 1 Waterfall, but the latter manages to burn us with his Flame Body, which allows Flareon to survive our first hit, though Bert hangs on from a Giga Impact, and we move on to the final Elite Four member. Lucian is the hardest of the 4, as I suppose he should be, and it took me a couple of attempts to get past him. Bert is able to take out Mr. Mime with only 1 strength, but Gallade is another story. I try to use Waterfall to get a flinch, and that proves to be a mistake. Gallade has Steadfast, so flinching him raises his speed, so we get nailed with a Leaf Blade next turn, before we're able to finish off Gallade. I swap to Risky for Alakazam, as she has more special defense, but he misses his Focus Blast anyway, so although he holds on from our first strength, and Lucian pulls out the full restore, 2 more hits let us move on to Espeon. We get outsped and just manage to hold on from 2 Psychics with 18 HP before putting Espeon down, leaving us only Bronzong to deal with. Risky gets in a Surf before fainting, and Bert just isn't quite able to finish it off. Lucian full restores again, and after 2 more Waterfalls, we're within range of 1 more shot, but Bronzong goes for a Psychic. We hang on though, and Bert brings home the win. This is it. Cynthia. Still commonly regarded as one of the strongest champions of all time. You know how many attempts this fight took me? 10? 20? 30 even? Try 55. Yeah, Cynthia is brutal. I had to go away and grind before even getting close. But in this unbelievable run, we got incredibly lucky. Bert flinches Spiritomb with his Waterfall, so we don't have to deal with any of its nonsense. He then crits Roserade with a strength, OHKOing her. I switch to Risky to try and tank an Aura Sphere from Lucario, and she does just that, and takes him out in 2 Surfs. Back to Bert as Togekiss is a special wall, and like the boss he is, gets another flinch, so Togekiss doesn't even get to hit us. It's time for our ace Garchomp. I swap back to Risky, knowing that 1 hit from Garchomp will finish her off, but she's the faster of the 2, and will at least be able to get in a Surf. We go back to Bert as she goes down. Garchomp misses a Dragon Rush, but holds on from a Waterfall. She misses another Dragon Rush, but again hangs on with a sliver of health, so Cynthia drops the full restore. 1 Waterfall. Garchomp misses again. Another Waterfall puts her in range of 1 more hit. She switches to Earthquake, we tank it, and we're able to end Garchomp. Milotic is all that stands in our way. Strength is a 2-hit KO, so as long as Bert can survive a hit, we win. He does just that, granting us victory and gaining us entry into the Hall of Fame. And with that, we have officially completed Pokemon Platinum using only 2 Bibarels and nothing but HM moves. This challenge nearly broke me, especially whenever I ran into Ghost types in the early game. I think for the next challenge I'll follow up on a previous promise and return to Johto. So, I hope you enjoyed this, and you'll join me for Can You Beat Pokemon Heart Gold with only an HM slave? Until then, I'll catch you later. Be sure to subscribe, like, comment, ring the bell, do all the YouTube things. I shall see you on the next episode.